Welcome to Signs Elderly Parents Need Care, Creating Strategies and Initiating Conversations. I'm Pamela D Wilson, caregiving expert, advocate, and speaker. I am your host and your guide for this module. We're going to talk about how to get what you want out of a 15-minute medical appointment and how to prepare for medical appointments, because the more prepared you are as a caregiver, the more information that you have about your elderly parents, the smoother that medical appointment will go, and the easier you will be able to get the care that you want from your doctor, from your medical provider. You will see me down here in the edge of the screen throughout the presentation. I pop in and pop out. Sometimes I will pop in to share stories and other information. But let's get started. We're going to start, as we always do, with the housekeeping part of the presentation, and I'm going to take myself off of the camera. So housekeeping, by now you know how this goes. I use the term elderly parent or elderly parents. You can substitute that term with whoever you are caring for: a spouse, husband, wife, partner, grandparent, client. The outline for this module is in the course materials. You can print it off. I do recommend that you print the slide handouts for each section off so that you can make notes as we go through the presentation. You will see in the slides I put the ellipses, the dots. Those are purposeful so that you are following along with me and learning from the information that is being presented. Let's talk about the objectives of getting what you want out of a 15-minute medical appointment. At the end of getting what you want out of a 15-minute medical appointment, you should be able to recognize the time constraints of medical appointments, plan an outline for medical appointments, and a system to interact with office staff. Initiate a system of consistent preparation and documentation for medical appointments. That means that you have a notebook, you keep notes on your computer, you have a way to compare information from one appointment to the next. The objectives for preparing medical appointments include the ability to create a pre-appointment planning list, what you want to get out of the appointment. I'm going to share with you a 5-5-5 process that I developed during the years that I was a care manager to help you accomplish appointment goals, because, as you know, the time for medical appointments are very, very limited. And I'll help you identify preventative measures to help your elderly parent, help you manage their care, and to get better care. Everyone, not only caregivers for elderly parents, tell me that doctor appointments can be a challenge when there are so many concerns. And the concerns could be mom and dad's high blood pressure is too high, they're tired all the time, they have no appetite. Getting what you want from a 15-minute medical appointment makes it challenging to discuss multiple health concerns thoroughly. Elderly parents have numerous chronic diseases. Not all of these concerns can be addressed in a single appointment because time is limited. Time limitations mean that you must be efficient and prepare in advance so that medical appointments deliver the results you want. Attending medical appointments with elderly parents ensure that concerns are identified, questions are asked, and follow-ups occur because you are helping, because you are involved. Have you ever been distracted at a medical appointment, maybe one of yours? You left the appointment and you realize that you forgot to mention something, that you forgot to answer a question. I'll share a process of pre-appointment preparation, how to discuss these issues with the doctor, and after the appointment follow-ups to help achieve the expected results. You can learn to use my 5-5-5 process for attending medical appointments. The first step is to explain to the doctor that you've prepared for the appointment. Explain that you want to organize the appointment into 5-5-5 increments. So that means 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, because you're lucky if you have 15 minutes for this doctor appointment. You want to explain that you want to use this process and just say, hey, doctor, are you okay giving this a try with me? I want to see if it will work so that I can make sure that all of the concerns from my elderly parents are addressed. Treat the appointment like a business meeting. Create objectives Set an agenda and track the time with your cell phone. At the appointment, you can use a watch, your cell phone clock, the clock in the room, anything that you can do to block it into 5, and 5-minute increments. Always make sure that you take a notepad to the appointment, bring the list that you created with all of your questions. So here's how it works. Let the doctor make an introduction and ask you questions about the previous appointment, any follow-ups that you were supposed to have achieved, and any current concerns. During the next 5 minutes, you give facts about the concerns in order of importance, and I'll share more on how to share facts with doctors in a minute. The last 5 minutes then are a wrap-up. They are recommendations from the doctor for treatment. He writes prescriptions, he orders tests, any type of follow-ups, and you can talk about the timing of the next appointment. Should it be in a week, 2 weeks, 3 months, 6 months? What is that follow-up? You use the 5-5-5 process to be more effective in conversations where other people are time pressured, and especially where you want their attention and their assistance in all types of situations. Always write out questions or concerns. And it's interesting, you'll find that you can use this process in many of the things that we talk about in these modules in other parts of your life. So you can use that process in conversations with elderly parents so that they respect your time and begin to plan conversations so that the conversations while you're at work are not social and they don't take up hours of your time. You always want to open up the conversation by asking for help. Give the other person time to ask questions and make suggestions. I always agree that the last 5-5-5 will be spent identifying solutions and next step. So let's take a step back and look at the preparation that you want to complete before a doctor's appointment so that you get what you need out of a 15-minute medical appointment. I'm going to turn the camera on because I want to talk to you about everything that me and my staff would do when we were managing care for elderly parents. I had staff because we had hundreds of clients. I couldn't do this by myself. And I know that you have one parent, but just the amount of coordination that we did to make sure that things went smoothly was substantial. And for you as a caregiver, it can be substantial, which is why if you can have your elderly parent help with a little bit of this, or if you have a brother or sister who can help out, that is very, very important. So for example, I would have a piece of paper that I would take with me to a doctor appointment. And I'll share it with you, but it would have date of the appointment, who was taking the person, of course it was me, and the numbers. So what was the blood pressure? What was the pulse? What was the pulse oxygen? Why was I going? What was the specific reason? Did I need to leave with prescriptions or have prescriptions sent to the pharmacy? What was the copay? What were the follow-ups? Just to even get to that point, we had to set the medical appointment. We always reconfirmed it the day before because what we would find is sometimes doctors' offices would change the appointment and we would show up and their question would be, "What are you doing here?" "Oh, we left you a message. We told you that the appointment changed." If you are a working caregiver, you cannot afford to have things like that happen. You have to reconfirm everything. So let's talk more about how to prepare for doctor appointments and how to prevent unexpected things from happening and how to help you get the care that you need out of a doctor's appointment. If your elderly parent is fortunate to be in good health, having an annual physical and looking into preventative vaccinations is vital to stay healthy. We all hope that we are going to be fortunate enough to have a vaccination for the coronavirus that started in 2019 very soon, but we know that it can take 12 to 18 months. Other types of preventative vaccinations, especially for elderly adults, our parents, are annual flu vaccinations. As a caregiver, you should also get a flu vaccination so you're not transmitting germs to your elderly parent, and a pneumonia vaccination based on the time frame that the doctor advises. If your elderly parents take medications, You probably have an appointment every 6 months to review health concerns and to obtain those very important medication refills. Be proactive, schedule the appointments as early as you can, and put reminders in your calendar, in your Outlook, put a reminder in your cell phone, write it on your parents' calendar. It's up to you as the caregiver for your elderly parent to ask also about preventative screenings. Your doctor at the appointments may be more interested in managing through the multiple chronic conditions than reminding your parent to do these preventative things. Like we talked, the annual flu vaccination, pneumonia, a shingles vaccination, mammograms, colonoscopies, skin cancer checks, and heart screenings. After a certain age, though, know that these screenings may no longer be viewed as necessary. And when I say a certain age, I'm talking about 70 or 80 or 90. Always ask the doctor at the next appointment about any screenings that should be done. If your elderly parent sits around all day and they're becoming physically weak, have poor balance, or low activity endurance, you want to ask about physical therapy exercises. And a judge for this would be, was your parent able to walk into the medical office without getting out of breath, without getting winded, without breathing heavily, because they're so out of breath? If that happens, they probably would benefit from physical therapy exercises. But you also want to make sure that before you ask the doctor, talk to your parent about if they'll commit to doing the exercises. As we talked about in the section about activities of daily living, daily physical activity like walking, stretching, and building muscle strength is important to helping your elderly parent stay at home. Declines in physical strength, falls, those are one of the number one reasons that cause elderly parents to have to leave the home for a care community. You may need to set up the physical therapy appointments for your elderly parents. It's also essential that you obtain copies of the exercises from the therapist so that your elderly parents have something to follow along with, and so that you can follow along with those sheets to do the exercises with your elderly parents. So let's talk about before the appointment. Talk to your elderly parent about the doctor appointment. Write a list of health concerns and prioritize them. So the list of health concerns should be prioritized. Know that you're probably only going to have time to discuss one or two concerns. If that list of concerns is long, you might need to resolve those first and then set a follow-up appointment to talk about the second list of concerns. As you write that list, and you want to grab your pens, get your pens out here, be as specific about the concerns as possible. Write down the answers to these questions, because this is stuff that will help the doctor help you. So you're noticing a change. At what time of day and how often does that change or that condition happen? Is mom or dad more tired in the morning when they wake up? Are they tired in the middle of the day? If they feel sick or nauseated, does that happen at a particular time of day? And for the medical condition, when did you first notice that change? Was it slight? Was it gradual? Was it something that happened overnight? How does that concern make your elderly parent feel? Are they tired? Do they have difficulty sleeping? Stomach upset? Nausea? What's going on? Has your elderly parent had any changes in their daily routine that caused the concerns? Did they stop exercising? Did they start walking? Did they start taking a new over-the-counter medication? What little change that you might not notice that could be extremely significant could have happened to cause this change? And then what have you as the caregiver noticed about your parent's health or the condition? Did you notice the condition first, or did your elderly parent say to you, I don't feel well. I'm not sure what's wrong, but I'm feeling dizzy when I wake up in the morning, or I'm tired all the time. Then also on the piece of paper, your planning paper, you want to write down what action that you want the doctor to take. Is it possible to prescribe a medication, run a test, look at some other type of recommendations. If you're unsure, you can always ask the doctor this question: what typical recommendations do you have for people who have this type of concern? Also, before the appointment, make a list of medications and over-the-counter supplements. You want to write down everything. Know that reporting medications and over-the-counter supplements are essential, especially those over-the-counter supplements, because they can interact negatively with the prescription drugs that your parents are taking. They can make the prescription medications less effective, and that can result in other concerns. Maybe that is actually why your elderly parent's not feeling well. If you have questions about seeing a medical specialist or any other questions, write those in your notebook for the appointment. Believe it or not, the doctor will appreciate your level of efficiency and your level of attention to detail. That type of planning really does result in better care for your elderly parent. And we're going to talk about some considerations for the appointments. For all appointments, you want to make sure that you arrive at least 15 to 20, 30 minutes, if possible, in advance. And I know that results in extra wait time, but if you arrive and there are people lined up at the desk, you may have to wait to check in. If there is paperwork, like update paperwork to fill out, you may take a few minutes to fill that out. You want to make sure that you're not causing a log jam for yourself or other people, because now many doctors have notices saying, if you are late for your appointment, you have to reschedule. We cannot fit you in. We're trying to accommodate everybody who is here to make sure that everybody who comes gets the time and attention that they deserve. And that is so very, very important. The small print. There's a lot of small print when you go to doctor appointments because of all the forms. So some common sense tips that can be helpful in getting what you need out of a 15-minute medical appointment. If you check out the medical office website, you might see that there is a lot of information there about attending appointments, and it really is the small print that we don't read. The examples that I find on the websites will say something like this: please arrive 15 minutes for your appointment so that we may update your account and confirm billing and insurance information so we don't have to delay your visit. As we strive to respect our patients' scheduled appointment times, if you are more than 15 minutes late, you could be requested to reschedule your appointment. We are legally required by your insurance company to look at your insurance card and collect a copayment at the time of service. So always make sure that you have your elderly parents' insurance card with you, credit card, cash, their ID, because if there is a balance on the account, many medical offices want to collect that balance at the time of your appointment. Because of all of these details in medical forms, it really is in your best interest to read the forms. Sometimes, though, even it can seem like it's time-consuming and tedious. A lot of patients sign forms and they don't realize the consequences of what they're signing. This also applies to hospitalizations, treatment centers, care communities, and other documents that elderly adults frequently sign. The devil is in those details. Know what you are agreeing to when you or an elderly parent sign a form. As patients, we have to abide by medical office rules. You probably have had plenty of appointments where you sat for a long time to see the doctor. Being patient when you go to the doctor's office, it's essential. We really don't have a choice. Take a book, take a magazine, take one of my podcasts to listen to. Take something to occupy your time and also something to entertain your elderly parent who can really become impatient during any type of a long wait. There is a form called the HIPAA form, and this means the Health Insurance Privacy and Portability Act. When you arrive at the doctor's office, those stack of forms that they give you, usually to review and sign, there's usually always a HIPAA document in there. It's a very important form. Having signed a HIPAA form having your parent sign that form and putting your name on there as a contact, your name, your phone number, your email address, having that signed HIPAA form allows you as the caregiver to call the doctor's office, to set appointments, to ask for information, health information, and to, very important, access an online medical portal if they have a portal that is available. When you check in, sometimes they'll give you a form about that. There may be a sign sitting on the counter saying, ask us about our medical portal. It is a time-saving measure. And important, if your parent has completed estate planning documents like a medical and financial power of attorney and a living will, make sure those forms are on file at every medical office visit where your parent needs appointments. Being prepared makes it so much easier to get what you want out of a medical appointment. Take the time to write notes in advance of the appointment. Take time to write notes during the appointment about what the doctor's saying, to ask questions, to document follow-ups, things that you have to do as a result of that appointment. All of these little details, this attention to detail, makes medical appointments so much more effective. The reason that a lot of our elderly parents have difficulty with medical appointments is they don't plan. They go and they rely on their memory to talk about concerns with the doctors, and many times they forget. Also, as you've probably learned, many times they go to an appointment and they forget what was discussed at the appointment, or they forget the follow-throughs. You as the caregiver, in a sense, become your parents' scribe. You take notes, you become their memory, you become the person that reminds them of what was agreed at all of these medical appointments and what they promised to do or what they agreed to do after the appointment and before that next appointment. This information is so important. I'm Pamela D Wilson, caregiving expert, advocate, and speaker. I will see you in the next part of this webinar series.